If we eliminate God's famous apple test of Adam and Eve's willpower, then the earliest recorded system of assessment was probably established by the emperors of ancient China. As early as 2200 BC, a civil service testing program was instituted for government officials. In modern times, Sir Francis Galton of England was one of the key figures in the development of mental measurements. At the turn of the century, Galton tried to demonstrate the hereditary basis of intelligence. His work triggered a long tradition of controversy over the relative contributions of heredity and environment to intelligence. The other great early figure in assessment was a Frenchman named Alfred Binet, who published the first workable intelligence test in 1905. Binet's test was devised to measure intellectual performance of school children, so that teachers could classify and separate retarded children from normal ones. The test was meant to replace the teacher's more subjective and often biased evaluations. Binet believed that his test scores were only a practical estimate of current performance, not a measure of innate intelligence. He believed that test results should only be used to help identify those areas in which children needed special help. But the educators who administered his test rarely made these distinctions, as we'll see later. The key to Binet's approach was the quantification of a student's performance. First, a great number of children of various ages were tested, and an average score or norm was obtained for normal children in each age group. Then an individual child's performance was compared to the average score for his or her age. Nowhere did Binet's test have a greater impact than in the United States. Millions of people were streaming in from Europe and Asia, and a vast public school system was emerging. How could the mental abilities of these newcomers be assessed? And there was also a flood of recruits enlisting in the army during the First World War. They too had to be tested for intelligence and aptitude. Assessment was being seen as a way to bring order to a chaotic society. An inexpensive, democratic way of separating out those who could benefit from education or military training from those who were deemed incompetent. Eventually, there was a growing acceptance of the idea that intelligence tests could be used to differentiate people in terms of their leadership ability and other socially important characteristics. And there was also growing attention given to alleged intellectual differences according to race and ethnic background. Statistics were used to support bogus arguments that blacks were inferior, as well as immigrants, like my grandparents and perhaps yours. In 1916, Louis Terman of Stanford University adapted Binet's test for American school children. The new version was commonly known as the Stanford-Binet Intelligence Test. With it, Terman would provide the foundation for a new concept, the intelligence quotient, or IQ. This quotient, as it was measured then, was the ratio of mental age to chronological age, multiplied by 100 to eliminate decimals. Thus, a child with a chronological age of 8, whose test score equaled that of a 10-year-old, would have an IQ of 125. The next milestone in intelligence testing was the work of this man, psychologist David Wechsler. In 1939, Wechsler designed a new test to solve a major problem of intelligence tests in general, their dependence on language, a problem for non-English speakers and small children. So he developed new nonverbal sections to go along with the verbal sections. In this example, test takers are asked to put these pictures in a logical sequence. Since the development of the original Wechsler intelligence scales in 1939, later revisions have become the most frequently used assessment tool in the country. More than 3 million people a year take it.